Hi, this is Curt and welcome to another edition of Fire Law Roundup.
Now let's go to FDNY. Let's come up to New York, and here we have FDNY where an EMT alleged disability discrimination. So let me talk. Look, I'm a big fan of this. Is FDNY EMS, right? Which is part of the FDNY, but it's the ambulance. They're not firefighters. There's been a lot of discussion during COVID about the FDNY, and especially the union came out very much against vaccines. And there was a study that showed a very small number of FDNY EMTs were in fact vaccinated. I don't know if you had seen those.
No, I hadn't. That's crazy. I mean, who's in a worse situation in terms of exposure than them?
Yeah, and I know a number of FDNY EMTs, and one out of maybe 8 or 9 of them decided to get vaccinated, and it's a pro-union type thing, I got to say, I think, but crazy. Yeah. In any event, look, this is a suit which has been dismissed. A suit alleges, not dismissed, alleges disability discrimination based upon a perceived disability. And this is a little screwy. So here, the FDNY EMT, she was terminated in April. She's now filed suit. So this is very current, and again, not dismissed, just filed. And she says, the city perceived I had a disability, and this is what will get interesting, which disability, because it's, I'll go through it. So she claims, and by the way, just so no one gets confused, the ADA, Americans with Disabilities Act, prohibits discrimination based upon an actual or perceived disability. So the claim states a cause of action properly, that you can't perceive that I have a disability and then take negative action against me. So what happens is, in September 21, the city allegedly, right? These are all allegations. Let's be real clear, allegations, not a court finding. And the city, according to the plaintiff, starts regarding her as having a disability of a contagious disease. I think you made reference that we believe it's COVID, but it's kind of hard to figure it out what it is. They make a record of that disability by misclassifying her as being substantially limited with an impaired immune system. We really don't know what it is.
Yeah, I think as best I can get, they're alleging that her lack of having a vaccine is indicative of her having a compromised immune system. So I think that's I think it's creative lawyering, okay, right, on the part of her attorneys. But what they're saying is that they're treating her as having a compromised immune system because she didn't get the vaccine.
Yeah, and I got to tell you, the first time I looked at it, I'm like, wow, that is pretty creative. But I don't think it's going to fly. But nonetheless,
yeah, right. Well, that's a different issue.
Yeah,
if it's going to fly. But look, at least if we can understand what she's saying, that's at least a first step.
And I think a judge is going to look at this saying, why aren't you being clear? You have to state what the disability is specifically. And but again, creative, kudos to creative lawyering. In any event, so they then go on to say, despite having knowledge of plaintiff claiming protective status. Now, so that must mean that the individual said, I assume I'm not getting the vaccine. I'm putting this into it. She must have told them I'm not getting it. And then she said, well, but you then treated me as somebody with a perceived disability. The complaint doesn't really do a good job of saying what the impaired immune system is, but I agree with what you said, because the complaint does go on to criticize the vaccine. The COVID vaccine is not working as being, at that time, it wasn't approved by the FDA. And frankly, well, different issue, but I don't think anyone should have ever forced anybody to get a unapproved drug, which is still experimental, though approved for emergency use. I think it's a very bad precedent. In any event, still, she really attacks, look, you're looking at me, my status as being unvaccinated as a disability. I just don't think that's going to fly. I don't think that's a disability.
Well, is it regarded as? And I think that's, they've couched it as they can go under the regarded as. So if you think of the ADA protecting, you mentioned this, right? You can have a disability, or you could be regarded as having a disability. And that's still a violation even if you don't have a disability, if your employer treats you as having a disability. And that's what she's alleging. She says, I'm being terminated because they don't think my immune system is robust enough because I didn't get this vaccine.
And,
so,
and look, I was trying to think of similar situations, and I could only go back to the HIV cases in the 80s and early 90s, where people would say, well, you look like you have HIV, and they would take action against them. There are a significant number of those cases, and it was kind of, based on how you look or how you are, whether you have the disease or not, we perceive you as having it. But that was perceived as actually having a disease. Here, we're not perceiving you as having disease, we're perceiving you as being susceptible to the disease. And I think that's very different. I think
right. No, I agree. And I think that's the city, well, you just made the city's argument.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Her argument is, no, the disease isn't COVID. The disease is my compromised immune system, quote unquote, my compromised immune system. Now you say, well, how is your immune system compromised? Because you didn't get the vaccine. Because you didn't get the vaccine, Yeah. I know. This is lawyer's version of calculus here.
It is. It's impressive. And look, everything else is lost. So kudos to the attorney, right? They got half